and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks, and in this video we will be making this mandala. Now I have chosen a selection of colors which I particularly like together, maybe a little bit different of a selection, but I just liked the colors together. So here we have sage, parchment, apricot, gold and raspberry, and I think they make a lovely combination. So we will be making the mandala in this video, and then in the next one we are going to actually put it on a ring and we are going to decorate underneath to make it look even nicer. So let's get started. So using my sage, I'm going to make my slip knot, insert my hook. I'm using my 3.5, and I'm going to do 4 chains. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then you go back to that first chain, you insert your hook and you do a slip stitch, so that you make a tiny little circle there. Now we are going to place 12 double crochets into this circle, but to get started we are going to do 2 chains, and this will count as our last double crochet. So we're going to do 11 double crochets. So yarn over, insert into the circle, pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now as you can see, I am trying to take along my end. That will allow me to have it sewn in, partly of course, but also to just pull it, and then I can close up the center of my mandala. But you don't have to, but it just gives you the possibility of doing that. So there we go. Right, so now to count your double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 V's on top of my work there. So that will be 10, and this is now the 11th V. And now to make the 12th V, I'm going to go under the 11th one, so this one here. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then here this one is the 11th one, and that will create our 12th V, which lies over those 2 chains that we did to get started. So that is my middle of my mandala with the 12 double crochets, or rather the 12 V's on the outside of my work. There we go. And like I said, look, you can pull this and then it becomes smaller. And if you sew it in really tightly, then of course you will be able to make this even smaller as well. So I like to try and end each round that I do with sewing in my ends, so that it's all nice and tidy for you to continue on to your next round. And that also eliminates having to do it at the end, of course. There we go. So I shall finish sewing in my ends and I will be back. So now for round 2, I'm going to be using my parchment here, and I've made my slip stitch, insert the hook, and normally when we do a second round in a circle you have to double the stitches. So we are in a way going to double the stitches, but we're not going to do the same stitch. So you yarn over as if you are already crocheting. I'm going to go under a V, any V, and I'm going to do a double crochet. So normally you would do a second double crochet in there, but this time as my second stitch I'm just going to do a chain, and I'm going to go to the next stitch and I'm going to do a double crochet and a chain into the next V for a double crochet and a chain. So each stitch will have a double crochet, and I am putting chains in between. This will in fact give me the doubling of my stitches, but I'm not putting a double crochet as my second stitch. I'm making boxes, look at that. And so this is how you will continue, and of course you will be doing 12 double crochets each time with a chain in between. There we go, that's where I sewn in the end. So make sure you do it a little bit more careful, but that's fine. And then here, the last V to be used. There we go. Now we do the chain that we need to do, and then of course now we are going to close our round with a slip stitch. So I have to go under this one here, but unfortunately that's not possible. Then of course the next stitch is a chain, so I'm going to try and go into the chain. So I've got a loop at the back of my hook there and two there, so that I know that I'm in the correct place there, and I do my slip stitch. This will then make the top of that standing stitch there. And as you can see, it doesn't really want to lie flat, but don't worry, the next round will sort it out. So cut off your yarn and take out the hook, pull out the stitch and sew in your ends. Okay, so for our third colour and our third round, we are going to be using apricot. And now that we're doing the third round of our flat circle, because really that is what we are doing, we need to create 3 stitches in each location. So we need to create 3 stitches in the 12 locations. So now we are going to yarn over. You go and insert into one of these boxes, because that's the easiest location for me to get started, and why not? And I'm going to do a double crochet. Now a really lovely little stitch combo of 3 stitches of course is a V stitch. So we have a double crochet, a chain and another double crochet. Now we could have done 3 double crochets, perfectly fine, but that's a bit boring. We're trying to make it a little bit different. Okay, so we are going to be placing a double crochet, a chain 1 and a double crochet into each box, just so that we have a little bit of a different start to our mandala. And I wanted to make it nice and fun to make as well, so why not try all these stitches out? We have the double crochets to start with, then the boxes in the second row, and now we have the V stitches in the third row. And let's keep going. So a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in each box around. So as you can see, I've just done all my V stitches and my work is lying flat, so this has sorted out the bowl shape that we had to start with. So now we are going to do a slip stitch to close the round. This one closes up for me, go under the V of the chain, so that might take a little bit of persuading to get in there. There we go, and close the round. There we are. So let's cut off the yarn, pull out the hook and sew in the ends. And I have sewn in the ends. We're ready for the next color. So I have gold here, and I'm making my slip knot, insert the hook, and now this time we are going to place 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space. So yarn over, and we are going to place 3 double crochets into the same location. So we are making granny clusters, and off you go to the next location for another 3 double crochets. There we go, look at that. So I will see you at the end of the round. So I have now done my complete round. Once again, skipping this standing stitch, going under the next V to do the slip stitch that then lies over that standing one. And same thing again, we are going to cut off, pull through and sew in your ends. And there we have it. Let's get on with the next colour. So I'm going to be using raspberry once again. Make your slip knot, insert the hook, and we are going to do clusters again this time, but of 4 double crochets. So you yarn over, go in between the clusters of the previous round, and you are going to do 4 double crochets in each location. There we go. See, so those are the maxi clusters. So 4 double crochets in between the clusters from the previous round. This will give you enough increase so that your flat circle lies flat. I will see you at the end of the round. So once again, I've made it to the end of my round, doing my slip stitch, closing my round, cutting off my yarn, pulling through and sewing in my ends. So here we are, and we are back to using the sage. So I'm going to make my slip knot, insert the hook, and this time, because of course we're doing a flat circle, we need to be adding stitches to our cluster to make up for the multiple we need in this round. But putting 5 double crochets in between each is just a bit much. So what I'm going to do is the following: yarn over, in between any 2 of the clusters of the previous round, you place your double crochet or your standing double crochet. I'm going to do a second one, then I'm going to do a chain, and then I'm going to do 2 more double crochets. And really that gives us the 5 stitches that we need, but it's not so apparent, it's not such a big cluster as it would be if we were actually to do 5 double crochets. So let's see if we can do the whole round like this. So 2 double crochets, 1 chain and 2 double crochets in between the clusters from the previous round. I will see you at the end of the round. Just finished doing my last cluster there of 2, 1, 2. Then you go over to the next cluster, skip that first stitch, go under the next V and close the round with a slip stitch. There we go. So let's cut off the yarn, pull up the loop and sew in the ends. Once again, I'm using parchment, slip knot, insert the hook, and this time we are going to be doing 3 double crochets, but we are going to place them in between the clusters, but also here in that chain 1 space, because that's the amount of stitches that we need. So we yarn over, insert into either a chain space or in between the clusters, and you place 3 double crochets there. Then here 3 double crochets in between the clusters, 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space, and this will give us the amount of stitches we need and will ensure that our disc here is fairly flat. I say fairly because it is buckling a little bit, but still not too bad, so it should be fine if we are going to use this as a mandala, or even if you wanted to turn this into a cushion or even a placemat or a coaster. That's perfectly fine. It will calm down and it will flatten out. So I will see you at the end of the round after you have done all your 3 double crochet clusters. So I have just finished my last cluster here. We are now closing the round as we are used to. So let me cut off the yarn. And as you can see, it's now gone nice and flat again. So let's sew in the ends. And we're on to apricot. I have my slip knot around my hook ready, and we are going to repeat the last row. So we are going to do 3 double crochets in between the clusters of the previous row. And you might think we're not increasing in this round, but that's okay. You will see it will still all be perfectly flat. So I will see you at the end of the round. And there we have it. I have done my round of clusters with 3 double crochets, and I have just finished it, and it's perfectly flat. So here we go. Here, skipping, closing the round with a slip stitch onto the next V. There we go. Voila. And we cut off our yarn, and once again, sew in your ends. So next color is on the hook, and we are going to be doing, just like we did here, after our cluster of 3, we're going to be doing clusters of 4. So here we did 2 rounds of clusters of 3, and now we are going to finish our mandala with 2 rounds of clusters of 4. So the first round will be in gold, the next round will be in raspberry. So let's do 4 double crochets, there we go, and 4 as well in the next location. I will see you at the end of the round. There we go, just done my last stitch there and a slip stitch to close the round. And I'm now going to cut this off, and I am going to be doing a second round in raspberry, of course, after I have done my ends. Okay, I am ready for that second round of 4 double crochets in each location, this time with the raspberry. So there, I've done my second round of 4 double crochet clusters, and I'm just closing that round, cutting off the yarn and sewing in the ends. So I am now ready for the next round, and we are going to get started with, of course, our sage onto our hook, yarn over, and we're going to create a V in between the 2 clusters from the previous round. So that means you're doing a double crochet, a chain 1 and a double crochet. Then you go to the next cluster here, and in between here, so between stitch 2 and 3, you're going to go in and you do another V of 1 double crochet, 1 chain and 1 double crochet. Then you go to your next location here, which is between the clusters, for another V. Then in the middle of the cluster for a V, and so on all around your edge of your mandala. I will see you when you have completed your round. So I have finished doing my V stitches around my mandala here. I am going to try once again and get under that chain, the V of that chain, not picking up the third one. I mean, if it really doesn't go any other way, then do just go into the opening, but I try at least. There we go. And that was my slip stitch. So now again, cutting off the yarn, pulling out the end and sewing in the ends. So this is our mandala, and it is now ready to be turned into a decorative item, and I will show you how to do that in the next video. So what do you need for the next video? So in the next video we will be making some tassels. So I'm going to be using my big scissors for that. I have my measure here for my length of my strands, and I will also be using one of my big darning needles as well as these wooden beads. So I have several sizes here. They all have a nice big hole, so that's what you need for putting on your tassels. I've put them in a glass jar because they were just going everywhere. Then you will also need, let's move the jar, a metal mandala ring. Now this one is a metal one because you can break that one. So I managed to find the join and I have broken this one because that's what you will need to be able to attach your mandala to it. And then of course you will still need your yarns because we will be making the tassels with it. There we go. So I hope you will join me for the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one, and I will see you next time. Bye!